Okay, here we go. Video game movies. I always get a lot of shit for talking about video game movies, but I can't help it. I'm fascinated by them. I want them to do well. I give every single one a shot just because it's like my two favorite things coming together, video games and movies. So the least I could do is try and hope, right? But so far it's been kind of like a curse. These things have struck out left and right. I do, however, this is kind of an unpopular opinion, but I do think they're on the up and up. I think Warcraft, almost but not quite. Assassin's Creed, almost but not quite. A little too long and boring and a little too self-serious. But Tomb Raider, I think, comes the closest to being a pretty good video game movie. I feel like I've said this before, but I had a good time at the movies here. Like, so it's flawed, it's not perfect, it's simple, it's dumb, but it's not dog shit. And I went to the movies and I sat down in a theater and there was good action and I had a good time with it. And I also thought it was faithful and respectful to the source material in a way we haven't quite totally seen, because a lot of times in some video game movies it almost feels like it pulls too much from it, or it feels too happy to just leave it in the dust. Here, it seems just right. But then again, I don't know. This is a weird one because it seems like a lot of times it pulls things almost too much from the games, but then other things that I really wanted it to pull from the games, it didn't. Case in point, Alicia Vikander, the lead, as Lara Croft. She did a good job. She's a really good actress. I always say it, you should watch Ex Machina and The Danish Girl if you want to see what she's all about. Put it on your list. So she's good. You could tell she actually gives a shit. And that counts for something, right? I just think what she was given to work with wasn't enough. She was charismatic, she was enjoyable, but she didn't have much. Now, on the flip side, I hate to actually compare it to the games, but Camilla Luddington's portrayal of Lara Croft in the more recent rebooted Tomb Raider games, I was so into, because she had a lot to chew on. Yeah, maybe it was a little hammy, it's a little, video game character-y, but I still got a sense of her character. I got a sense of her personality and a sense of her feelings here. In this movie, we only got bits and pieces of it. And this movie does a good job of just where they want to take the character. I think is a little questionable. I'll get to that. I'm not going to talk about spoilers until the end, if anyone even gives a shit. I mean, do you really care? It's not that big of a deal. But I'll get to that. What I will say about this is that I found the action good. From the very beginning, where it's just setting her up in London doing her thing, to the boat crash, to the airplane that is falling. All these things are actually ripped right from the game. And I'm starting to realize the whole video game to movies thing is that things are done in video games that cannot be done in movies, and that is the case in point here. So it's toned down, it's not as exciting. It's still cool, it's still very hair-raising. The action does not look as shitty as it did in the trailers. I am happy to see that. And honestly, I thought the action was pretty well done. You could see Alicia Vikander throwing herself around. There's lots of jumps, there's lots of flying through the air, hitting the ground, climbing. She's really doing a good job, and I think that's fun to watch. Sometimes, and honestly, the Mission Impossible movies, I like watching them so much, not really the movies, but I just like seeing the lead actor doing their thing. Does she do as many stunts as Tom Cruise? No, probably not, but still. The action scenes I thought were just good, and I really enjoyed going from action scene to action scene. Now, the in-betweens, first of all, the villain, they have Walton Goggins, totally underutilized, but he wasn't bad. He was just slightly chilling. He had one motivation. He kept bringing up his two daughters that he had to go home and see as justification for him just gunning down people and being a horrible person. And that's cool. The scene on the boat, in the water in the storm at night when it crashes, that had me holy shit. I thought that was really well done. I was blown away how good that scene was. How close to the game it was, yes, but also just how exciting it was, how it kept me kind of glued to the screen. This is weird, and I think people are really hard on this movie because a lot of people didn't really ever ask for it or really want it. Some people were really into the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies, which were fine, I guess. There's some nostalgia there. It's more of a cultural thing at this point, a point in time type of thing. They were kind of just, if you think about it, national treasure movies, but with Angelina Jolie instead of Nicolas Cage, and a bunch of really bad early 2000s CGI. But it's interesting that a lot of that plot, the whole tomb raiding thing, was around this Japanese goddess Himiko, and this whole thing, which is exactly from the game, by the way, down to the tombs riddled with corpses and bones of this cursed thing. Now, while the action was so good, and we got a lot of really cool scenes with Lara Croft doing things like bow and arrowing, we got a scene of her killing someone for the first time and feeling real sad about it, I wasn't convinced of her smartness, her whole, solving puzzles, archaeologist, adventurer thing. When it came down for her to solve the final puzzle and open the tomb, it walks you through her thought process, but it just didn't work. It didn't sell it for me. I didn't feel like she actually brought any cool prior knowledge or any Tomb Raider-iness. That was one thing that for me was kind of a bummer, and I thought they actually fundamentally missed the point of the character to a point. But then on the flip side, you do get her jumping over spike pits, you get her using the axe, you get her using the bow and arrow. Like I said, there's a lot here to enjoy and just have a good time with. I do think it's important that as a movie, it's just enjoyable to sit down and watch. Which you can't really say that about every video game movie. So I am saying that it's probably my favorite video game movie right now because I could sit through it and after I saw it, I was like, yeah, I would watch that again. I think if I can get across one thing why I did enjoy this movie and why I did have a good time, too, is that it's not perfect and there's some stupid shit in it, but ultimately, overall, you can feel that the people who made it actually gave a shit, which is something I think you can't say about a lot of video game movies, but I was surprised to see that here. I felt like there was actual genuine care about the movie they were making. Even if it was predictable and formulaic at times, it was still done in a way that I felt like the people behind it, from the people who came up with the action scenes or the writers or the actors, they gave some semblance of a shit about the Tomb Raider movie that they were making and about Tomb Raider in general. That really surprised me going in. That was a big surprise for me, so that really helped. From the way it looked, from the way it sounded, from the way the action scenes were done, for the callbacks to the video game, I thought it was really good. Now, I can't really talk about what I really didn't like without going into spoilers, so if you do care, stop now, but if you don't care, I'm going to talk about spoilers now. First things first, which I think was really weird, kind of like a dumb decision. Lara's dad, Richard Croft, is alive on the island like a caveman, hiding out. I don't know why. I don't know why, what that really added. I guess it added fatherness to the plot, which I never really thought was needed. Then again, they always do try and take Lara Croft and attach the legacy of her father to her, which is fine, but I thought it was really weird to do it with him alive. Maybe they thought they were being clever and kind of twisting it around on you like you would expect him to just be dead and then he wasn't. But it just didn't work because I feel like he kind of got in the way. Not only that, it did one of my least favorite things that Hollywood movies do. If you watch the trailer, it showed the end of the movie, basically like the end credits scene thing, the big ending thing, right in the trailer. And that is, in the end, she goes back to London and she goes to a pawn shop and she has her cool Tomb Raider ponytail and she buys two fucking cool guns that Lara Croft has. Which is dumb for two reasons, because number one, it spoils in the trailer, but more importantly, I think it fundamentally misses the point here. Like, what is the whole point? What were we doing for this entire movie? Because the way the games now work is that it's a slow build. It's really kind of building this new Tomb Raider legend and just kind of has the existence of the booty shorts, big boobs, badass Lara Croft, in the foreground. Something that almost, I don't care if the games ever reach that point. It's really the journey to it that's more important. So now for this movie to build upon that and then fast forward at the very end and go, okay, and now we're done. Now she's badass Lara Croft. I was like, oh, okay, guys, really? That's it? That to me kind of just felt like cutting it short. It kind of felt like a wet noodle. It just was lame. Which is a shame too, because I think the movie has a lot of potential because, like I said, it was entertaining, but the fact that it did just decide to take so liberally from the games with like Trinity and Hamiko and the island and everything, I would have loved for them to have done a Tomb Raider movie too that follows up next with like Rise of the Tomb Raider, the movie. I'd be cool with that. That honestly seems like it would make the most sense since it did decide to just pull from the game so much. The series of movies could just follow the same path. But apparently not. I guess they figured maybe this was their one shot. I don't know, it sounds like a weird little personal gripe, but I've just always really enjoyed Tomb Raider and enjoyed like thinking about this series and stuff. But again, like I said, it's a good time at the movies. You can turn your brain off if you enjoy the Tomb Raider games. You go watch the movie and not think it's horrible. I don't know, I've saw some people say that this movie is dog shit, and I don't know, really? Like, have you seen bad movies? Again, those are just personal nitpicks. I still gotta reiterate, dude, I had a good time with this movie. I don't know where they're gonna go next. I don't know if anyone really cares enough. I do wanna know what you guys think. If you did actually go to the movie theater to see this movie, I definitely wanna know how you feel about it. I do really think some people are being really hard on this one, but there are also very valid complaints with this movie at the same time. So I wanna know how you feel about the plot twists and stuff like that. The fast forward to the end to the real Tomb Raider. The action scenes, what was your favorite one? Let's talk about Tomb Raider down in the comments. But as usual, thank you guys for coming around here and listening to me and letting me ramble about something like this. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for watching. You know the deal. I'm Jake Baldino. You can subscribe because video games.